in, I'm gonna throw it 2, 1, and I'm gonna come over the top.
Okay, Fowlers, back from fucking Montana. The lights aren't turning off in this fucking little shithole we're in. But that's alright. Still lots of good going on. Lots of fucking good is going on. Got myself an iced green tea here. Oh, let's get that posture cranked up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's crank that shit up. Grab yourself a fucking little refreshment. Have yourself a slurp. All right. Thank you very much, Gloria Tells. Thank you very much. Today we got a guy named, let me see his name again. His name is Dr.Major Major coming on, and we're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to talk about some of the most underrated drugs out there, and we're going to talk about performance. We're going to talk about overall health. We're going to talk about all sorts of shit with Dr. Major Major. I haven't met him in real life yet. I've heard a lot of good things about him. He's coming here in a few minutes, and we'll have a discussion. I have no idea how it's going to go. Hopefully it goes good. But got back from Montana on Sunday. We got back from Montana, and it was a refreshing trip back home. It really was. Got to see my dad, got to see my brother, which is always good. And then I got to bring 2 of the amateurs. David Clay's one of them. He's a former world champion, purple belt. He's 18 years old. He's a real phenom. And then we got to bring my boy JJ, who I've been training since for probably 8+ years. Been hanging around, been friends with JJ. And back in the day when I was training him, he was just the biggest fucking puss. Biggest fucking puss. Anytime he lost or got submitted, he'd cry, storm off the mats. And the littlest thing that goes wrong, it would just ruin him. And he would just, but he was a young buck. Not mentally tough. But that's just proof that you can grow your mental toughness, because flying up there with us to a whole new state in front of a crowd, probably close to 1,800 people or more. Great Falls always sells out in the MMA. They love fighting up there. But him going up there and getting in the cage, it takes a lot of fucking balls to do that. But I love seeing it with those young amateurs. You see them win, and then you just see their confidence just go zoop. And their confidence just goes zoop, and they just get way more confident. And the most important thing in fighting, I truly believe, is just having confidence. Confidence when you're in there believing you can win. That's a dangerous, dangerous thing to have. And I think it's the most important thing to have in fighting. And also my boy JJ, he might have got some puss, which will bring you to a whole nother level. And he walked out of the room in the morning, gold chain on, and he walked out like his cock was 20 inches long. He walked out and his fucking traps were flared. Cornrows in. And I was like, wow, that's a whole new motherfucker. And David did a great job too. He fought a kid who was 2-0, athletic black kid, and those guys are explosive and they're scary. And David came out, and our plan was to march right at the kid and shoot a double leg. But then the kid circled a little bit off the bat, and David stayed patient, nice and calm on his feet. And when the kid rushed in at the wrong time, he changed levels, turned the corner, and took the kid down beautifully, took his back, and beat his ass. And then we had our boy Tommy McMillan. He trains with us Mondays and Fridays, and he trains at the lab other than that. And he's a 3-time state champion from Montana, and I think he's 2-0 as a professional now. And he's really took some fucking big leaps. So he fought a debut kid, made the kid look easy. And so on to the next one for Tommy. He should be in the big show here. Probably if we take our time with him, a year, maybe 2 years, get him to 4-5-0, and then get him contender series match. That'll be good. But other than that, Montana was fucking cold. It was cold, but it was pretty sunny, so it was refreshing. It was 20 degrees or 30 degrees on some of those days, and I rented a minivan. I rented a minivan that could carry seven of us. And, yeah, it was good. I mean, small town Montana. Montana, they got casinos. If you need to go to a casino, they got them. And if you need a truck, everyone's got a truck. And if you like cigarettes, no, that's not really it. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Great Falls. Like, I love Great Falls. I'm from there. Fucking a lot of tough people from there. But it's just, it feels like it just has a tough time growing. Something, they try to get a new restaurant in there or some healthy shit in there, and it just shuts down. I don't know. But other than that, it was a freaking good trip. It was a really fun trip, seeing all the people too, and the boys getting dubs. And yeah, and it's nice too. None of our guys are cutting way too much weight. A couple of the guys had to cut 6 pounds. JJ had to cut like 2 pounds, and I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They think because they can make a weight, because they can cut their balls off and make a weight, that they should. And I don't think that's the truth. I think that's a big mistake I made in my career. Early on in my career at 170 pounds, yeah, maybe when I was younger I had some tits. But still, I mean, with those tits and with those love handles came some hard-hitting punches. I mean, early on in my career, I touched some people's chins and they fell. Boom. So most of them in my fighting career, fighting at 170, I'm like, I just got to touch these guys' chin. Eventually, I'm going to touch their chin and they're going to fall. And then I cut to 155. And I walk around about 190, 195. I cut to 155 because on The Ultimate Fighter, I made the 170, but the producer said, we're cutting all the 170s. Can you make 55? So I was like, fuck, I guess it could. 3 months, cut from 195 to 155. And all my power left. Now I'm hitting people clean when it's usually really hurting them and rocking them or putting them down, and it's just bouncing off their chin. I literally just cut my muscle and I cut my explosiveness out of me. So I think that's I just don't think if you're living a decently healthy lifestyle, I don't think you should cut any more than 25 pounds. Once you get over 25 pounds, you're either living pretty unhealthy or you're just going to be literally just losing a bunch of muscle. Losing a bunch of muscle, losing a bunch of explosiveness. It's going to be hard to enjoy your life and even enjoy what you're doing because you're so focused on the diet, and you got to train twice a day, and you're not even eating enough calories to recover from one workout, and then your body starts breaking down and getting injuries. So picking that right weight class for you, I think, is a super important thing. So what do we got in the news here? We got a bunch of drama going on in the world here. 6ix9ine got beat up. Got jumped at a LA Fitness and got beat up. Pretty bad. I saw the guy stomping on his ribs. Probably fucked him up pretty bad. But at the end of the day, you got to expect that. He can't be surprised that someone jumped him. The way he talks on the internet, the way Danny talks on the internet, the way he's just blah, 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 and then whatever happened with the whole prison thing, and then you run into the wrong group and you don't got security, you're going to get your fucking ass beat, and he got his ass beat. So it's not that, like, surprising that he got jumped, and hopefully he's not surprised by that. Because usually, I mean, and hopefully he knows, but when you talk shit, there's a good chance you're going to get in a fight. What do you think of that, Jay?
Yeah. I think, like, when you're a celebrity and stuff like that, well, especially him, right? Because a lot of people hate him. I wouldn't even be at the regular gyms like that. Like, you're too famous to do that.
Yeah, I mean, even when we were there hanging out and stuff, there's no security.
Yeah, I know.
And we almost got ourselves into some serious trouble.
I know, when we were at the club. Or no, at the gas station, too.
We went to the gas station, and we were driving Danny 6ix9ine's McLaren, and it was just me and JX. Yeah. And everyone showed up. Steve in the Lambo. Everyone had their cars, and then they all took off, and then JX and I were like, oh, we lost, couldn't find the fucking key. Yeah. But 6ix9ine's brother Oscar had the key in his car in his pocket, and we're sitting there at a gas station, and there's these guys pulling up, and they're like cussing people out, saying, that's that motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting there like,
and they saw us pull up with them. Yeah. Or I would assume they knew.
I was like, this could get bad.
But yeah,
but we got out of there.
It's crazy that everybody hates him, but you know how he was with us, he was super chill. Like, he was the friend. He was our homie. Yeah. And who knows? Like, that could be like when you first meet someone, you just put your best face on. But,
yeah, and he was making sure everyone was taken care of. But I think he does like to be just a little bit toxic, and that's part of his whole entertainment.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's part of the entertainment business. The motherfucker's entertaining, but being like that, talking like that, you might get fucked up here and there. You got to know that.
Yeah.
So hopefully he heals up.
Yeah, because it said they robbed him, so I wonder if they took like his jewelry and shit, or if he even had jewelry.
He probably did. He probably did, but it's a good learning lesson. At least he didn't die, and now he can cruise around with security. Okay, Colby Covington warns Leon Edwards against declining the fight. You don't cross your boss. This is the only piece of advice that I'm ever going to give you. This is what Colby said. Because next you're going to get your ass whooped, Covington told MMA Fighting. There's a saying, Leon, and shut your fumbling mouth and listen. Open your stupid ears and listen to the advice that I give, because it's the only advice I'm going to give you, Leon. You do not cross your boss, and you will learn the hard way. Remember that, Leon. That's the only advice I'm going to give you. You don't cross your boss. I definitely say Edwards, listen, he ain't getting a title shot next. That's what Edwards said. Look at the road I had to get here. There's no way you're getting beat twice by the guy that I just beat twice. Went out and beat Masvidal. Then sit out for a year and a half, not even tweeting or nothing. Just go missing for a year. Then randomly pops up at the weigh-ins and like, okay, he's fighting for the title next. Makes no sense at all. So let's see how it plays out. He has to go out there and earn his way like I had to do. I didn't know he said that. But, I mean, Leon's saying that right there. I mean, Leon's got a good case, too. He just beat Kamaru twice, and Kamaru fucked up Colby twice. And Leon's probably thinking, I mean, Colby's a tough fucking fight, dude. Colby's a tough fight. He's different than Kamaru. Like I said in my YouTube video, he's different than Kamaru. His striking's way different than Kamaru. Kamaru will stand there, and he'll box you like a boxer. Colby ducks his head, and he throws overhands, ducks his head, throws overhands. You don't know if he's punching, ducks his head, and shoots a double leg. So that's a tough style to fight against. But the way Leon's takedown defense was so good, I feel like he might be able to shut down Colby's takedowns. But also, I do think Kamaru's knees were fucked up, and I think that had to do with him being able to put the pedal to the metal. And really, when you can't run, when you can't do a lot of cardio, your legs aren't in shape as they usually are. And if you've ever fought and you've ever competed, your legs are one of the first things to go out. But I'd like to watch Colby Bilal. I'd love to watch. It makes the welterweight division way more exciting, though. Leon versus Masvidal. It's a sick fight. Conor smokes Michael Chandler, which, fuck, I don't know if he will. If Michael Chandler just comes out there and is like, I'm going to put on a show, that's going to be bad for Michael Chandler. But I feel like Michael Chandler would be smart enough, and I feel like his coaches would be smart enough to come out there and try to get into a good shot. Try to get into a good shot. Force Conor to do some scrambles with you. To scramble with you. Force him to defend your takedown. Because those grappling scrambles in a fight are so fucking exhausting. People have no clue how exhausting they are. So I think that would be smart for Michael to say, okay, the first 2 rounds, I wonder if it's going to be 5 rounds. The first 2 rounds, the first round, my main focus is going to be pretend I'm going to strike and get in on some takedowns. Get in on some takedowns. Force him to start just huffing and puffing. And even a lot of times when people are shooting on people on the fence, they're shooting on people on the fence. Sometimes they're not even focused on taking you down. When you get shot on the fence, you got to sit there and pummel. I have to have a whizzer. I got to get an underhook, and they're hanging on your arms. You got to jack them up, and you do that 2 or 3 times, it starts to weigh on your arms, and it's going to slow your punches down and everything. So I think if Michael Chandler is smart, they're going to make that. They're going to force some grappling in the first couple rounds. But if he comes out like he always fucking does and just starts winging haymakers, and he starts overextending himself, throwing punches from his hips and bringing his punches back to his hips, Conor might snipe him and might fucking piece his lips up. Who else? Who else at 170? We got Bilal, we got Leon, we got Colby. I mean, Colby being the champion would be, for entertainment wise, it would be fucking sweet. Seeing Colb's champ. Rafael Cordero. He says, any current top 15 lightweight would destroy Conor McGregor. I truly think that Conor McGregor's lightweight days are done. He looks like a solid 195. A solid 195. So if you're a solid 195 and you're cutting to 55, like I said, you're going to be losing a lot of fucking muscle. And I don't think Conor's going to want to go to 155. Could be wrong. Who fucking knows? There's Armin Terserkian, who's dangerous as fuck. There's Matthias Gamrot, dangerous as fuck. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev. Yeah, there is a lot of tough motherfuckers. But Justin Gaethje versus Fiziev, man, that was a sweet fight. That Fiziev dude is so fucking sharp. But Justin Gaethje is so goddamn durable. So fucking tough. I was pumped to see Justin get it done, because Justin didn't need to take that match. I think Fiziev or whatever was number 7 and Justin's like number 3, if I'm not mistaken. So he could have been like, no, I'm waiting for a higher rank. I'm waiting for a higher rank. But Justin Gaethje's a badass, so he takes it. I'm curious what Usman does. He didn't say he's going to retire, so I'm curious what he does, because is he going to want to jump back in and try to make another title run? If your knees are really deteriorating that bad, and I think he's getting up there in age. How old is Kamaru Usman?
I think he's like late 30s, 36, 37.
35 years old. May 11th, he turns 36. Leon's only 31.
Your age?
Yeah.
How old are you? 32?
32.
Yeah.
So.
You see how Conor McGregor's tweets about all the coaches I sent you?
Oh, let me look.
Talking shit about all the coaches.
Let me look here.
I think I texted it to you. Sent you a screenshot of it.
I think you did too. And that one kid someone leaked a video of him giving another guy a beach.
Oh, the fuck. I didn't even know about that.
God damn it.
Too soon.
Seriously. All right, let's see what Conor was saying about all these coaches. He was really talking some shit here.
Yeah, I texted you one of the screenshots. I was screenshotted because I know he always deletes his shit when he goes on his little rants. He always deletes his tweets.
Yeah, he did. He did delete it. Did he? You screenshotted it and sent it to what? Yeah, I
sent it to your phone, iMessage.
Yeah, he's going off. I wonder what kind of drugs Conor does. Because it seems like that motherfucker just goes off. It could be just proper 12. Yeah, he said, Firas Zahabi is a little douchebag. I think Firas Zahabi is super fucking smart. I think he is. I think he knows a lot of shit, and he's very intelligent. He went to school for philosophy, black belt in jiu-jitsu, trained GSP. But he does say some shit that's like, come on, don't fucking say that, dude. Don't say that if you've never been in there and you've never felt someone trying to hurt you. There's a difference. People think you can spar. I mean, I spar, so I know how good I am. Some people are good as fuck in sparring. And in sparring, you have that safety. You know that your partner's not really trying to hurt you. His goal isn't to hurt you. In a fight, you get into a fight, and there's a crowd first of all, and then the person standing across from you, his goal is to hurt you. His goal is to break one of your limbs. His goal is to knock you unconscious. So just that alone makes a fight completely different than sparring. So. Sparring, yes, you get a little taste of it. You get a little taste of what the cardio's like, but still, it's very small taste. Sparring, I think someone just came here. Will you go grab him, Jay?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, when you say, yeah, I'm sparring, so I'm pretty familiar with it, it's like, dude, you're not. And even if it's Frost, if you've never fought, you don't know what the fuck a fight is like. Okay. And then, hey, how are you? How's it going, brother? Damn, fucking jacked, Mike. Didn't expect that. Yeah, you can pop a squat and put your headphones on. And then, yeah, right in that mic, there's a blue. I was going to finish this up here. So Conor said, Firas Zahabi's a little douchebag. Trevor Whitman is a pad man. Javier Mendez is a fat-ass kickboxer. Mike Brown is a smelly prick. Greg Jackson got caught up. The system of Coach Kavana is now shining through. In years to come, the world will know what we have been at. Yeah, I mean, you can't say those guys don't know what they're doing, but Conor goes off and goes crazy. So, all right, we're here with my new friend, Dr. Michael Major. How's it going?
Going great. Going great.
I think it's the other side of that mic on the blue.
Going great.
There we go. Are you from Scottsdale?
Originally born in Minnesota, raised in Kansas City, was in the military, so all over the U.S., Japan, and then came to Arizona for med school, 2011. Been here ever since.
Sweet. How do you like it here in AZ?
I like it. I'm meant to be in warmer weather, I think.
Right? Yeah, we just got done visiting Montana. That's where we were born and raised. So being down here, once you're down here for a little while, you're like, you get used to it.
Yeah, river runs through it. One of my favorite movies. Isn't that Montana?
Yeah. Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're big. Sugar and I and a lot of our team are super big on, like, not necessarily biohacking, but just having the best recovery and the best performance possible. Mm-hmm. Are you pretty big on that kind of stuff also?
Yeah. The reason I went to medical school is because I had a adult onset seizure condition. Going back a little bit, I grew up, my mom was a nurse. And even back in the 80s, I think she was a little bit ahead of her time, where it mattered what we ate. She'd always say milk with the meal, and we didn't have much soda around the house. Now people don't drink milk at all. But so I grew up seeing a difference because I was an athlete. I played college football, seeing a difference in my performance based on the things I was eating and doing compared to my peers. And so I kind of took that with me to a degree. And then after I got out of the military, I was a government contractor living in Maryland, and it just happened one day. I was, talking to a buddy, and I guess it was an hour and a half later, I woke up with a paramedic in my face, and I had just had a seizure. And ended up having, we think, at least 22. Most of them happened at night. There might have been a couple more in a 9-month period. I was treated at Johns Hopkins out there on the East Coast, and they just shoved medication in my mouth. It was like one pill after the other. For me, it just shut off brain activity. Like I couldn't, wasn't supposed to be driving, but I did, and I had to use the map in my car to get home at night. I couldn't remember people's names that I'd been working with for months. And so it was actually my sister in Kansas City was seeing a naturopathic physician, and during one of her appointments, she mentioned what I was dealing with, and she said, well, we know that excess neurostimulation can induce seizure activity. And so I ended up doing some research and finding, sure enough, based on the things that I was eating and found thought were healthy, were very neurostimulating. I cut those out, did some gut healing things, cut out gluten, cut out dairy for a while, and immediately the seizure stopped, and a lot of these other symptoms, like I'd been losing weight, losing hair, constant daily diarrhea, that all stopped. And then, when I went back to the neurologist at Johns Hopkins and said, hey, my seizures are gone based on doing these dietary things. And he said, well, we recommend you can continue with the medication. There's no evidence that diet can fix that. And so I was just kind of done with, I'd already questioned it. And then, because it was my sister seeing that naturopathic physician, I said, what is this naturopathic medicine? And the biggest school is here in Tempe. And so I looked at it, had the GI Bill to use, and 9 months later I was in medical school.
Oh, dang, that's crazy. Yeah, because I was listening to Andrew Huberman and a Rick Rubin podcast, I'm pretty sure, and he was saying that it could be up to 50% of literature, like in medical school, is outdated.
Well, that's what I think most doctors will tell you. They learn this much in medical school and everything, afterward. And then things are constantly evolving, so it's constantly learning. That's why you have to do continuing education. I kind of think, because our medical school, at least the first 2 years, is exactly the same as an MD school, DO school, pathologies and things like that. And so it's almost just like learning how the medical system works. And to me, the summary that I found for our base medical system is it's emergency medicine. It treats you, just don't die. They're not really too concerned about optimization, performance. They just don't die. Mm-hmm. And that's the big reason why everybody's, in the MD system is big on pharmaceuticals. And so, medical school, what I'm doing now is nothing what I learned in medical school. Right. It's all what I've learned and continue to learn since graduation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because the big pharma stuff, do they pay doctors to subscribe just whatever is in, or?
They could. I mean, the typical medical system with insurance and everything, I think, is one big wheel that feeds everything. The pharmaceutical companies, you know, they wine and dine doctors to give their products. And then the pharmaceutical companies do their own, you know, tests of these things and their own studies, and then have ways of putting out the good information. And so they give kind of summaries to doctors and say, hey, for this condition, this pill works great. And if you do this, you get, you know, maybe these benefits, sort of thing. And that's, you know, a typical doctor, even just an internist, can see 20, 30 people a day and spend 5 minutes with them. I see at the most, you know, 2 or 3 a day, and oftentimes we're spending an hour and a half, 2 hours together. And it's getting real deep into the weeds, at least initially. And so, you know, I think a lot of MDs have, you know, first of all, most of them go in right out of undergrad. So they're young kids. They leave medical school with a lot of debt. And they say, if I do give these medications for these conditions that, you know, have this name that goes with it, then everything will be good. I'll make money. I'll be happy. And, you know, my life will be, you know, non-stressful. And I think that's why a lot of MDs, DOs who switch, you know, like a lot of the popular online doctors, Dr. Mercola, stuff like that, they do that later in life, you know, when they're clear of a lot of that thing that could distress them. Mm-hmm. So I think most people have great motives. Like you ever hear, early in my career, I did work at a cancer treatment center in Vita in Scottsdale, which is just beautiful what they do for people. And, you know, we'd hear from other oncologists who worked in cancer their whole career. They'd say they'd never treat themselves if they got cancer the way that they treat their patients because of what they saw and the consequences of it. So I think part of it is just, you know, they need a life. They have to, you know, have their career. But I think most of them have, you know, good intentions at heart.
So, yeah, so a lot of it's just a lot of MDs and stuff. You go into a doctor's office and it's just a numbers game. So they're seeing 20, 30 people. They want to spend the least amount of time with you, give you just what's going to cover up the issue, not really get to the bottom of the issue with sleep and food and all your routines and good water. And they just try to get you out of there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you know, what I dealt with, especially with the seizure condition. You know, this doctor, I actually liked him. You know, he would communicate with email real quickly, but, you know, when I saw him in his office, it was, you know, at the most 10 minutes, even the initial one. And, you know, I remember when I first had my seizures, I'm like, gosh, this is a great place to have it. I'm at Johns Hopkins. They're going to figure this out right away. And I was just blown away how they said, well, we don't know why it happens, but here's medication. And
yeah, I mean, it just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy that more people and more very super smart people don't preach about just your lifestyle and the type of food you're eating and your sleep and the water. And they just don't even really talk about that. They talk about what pills, and then you can go to the gas station and there's just all this stuff that 100% fact will give you heart disease and will slowly kill you. But it's all okay and it's all overlooked. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. And it drives me crazy seeing it.
Yeah, I'm convinced a lot of what we do is creating fixes for problems that we also created. You know, this pandemic, it's very interesting. You know, I treated, you know, even though I don't have a huge patient load, over 100 people that were either COVID positive or had all the symptoms. And the things I did for them 2 days later, not only were they saying, I feel great, but they say, I feel better than I have in months. And then, you know, talking about the treatments that they did for people, you know, when they locked them in a hospital room and you know, in a closed room with no air, no sunlight, with other sick people, and they're stressed, and and so a lot of things. The pandemic is just kind of a good example of it. They're trying to create fixes for problems that they're also creating.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of almost drugs do you think are underrated? Have you done much research on cannabis and psychedelic mushrooms and stuff?
Oh yeah. There's, we can't prescribe it yet, but I have friends in Colorado, and I know the benefits that people, especially from things like microdosing, you can get some great results. I actually did, early in my medical career too, I did do a lot of medical marijuana certifications. And you would have some people come in who obviously, just wanted the marijuana for recreational stuff. A lot of them still did have pain and reasons to get it, but you would see 20-30% of the cases, some people come in and say, here's a list of medications I used to be on, now I use medical marijuana. and I find, like, some states even do this, you have to get prescribed a specific form of it because the tinctures, things like that, where you get all the cannabinoids, because when you do the inhaled form, that's kind of more the recreational. You get a lot of the THC directly to the brain, and that just, it gives you the typical what we think of marijuana. But the whole plant, when you get it in, some other form that has multiple cannabinoids, it is just a great plant. It helps with a lot of things.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people that are just so scared of the THC, so they just take the CBD. But I feel like if you're taking the CBD, and depending even where you're getting the CBD from, I feel like you're missing a lot of the benefits from the plant. So we really like to use these Storz & Bickel, like they're medical grade vaporizers. So you put the flower in there and you cook it at whatever temperature, and it fills a bag up with vapor. And I feel like you're just getting a lot of the benefits instead of burning it and having to inhale all that smoke. I really enjoy that. So do you like to use cannabis at all or no?
I've gotten tinctures that I've used at times. I haven't, again, I play college football and I've learned a lot about the body. I do yoga and work, with other things. So I don't have a lot of pain, but I do use it with things like yoga, things like with massage. I remember, I was going to the same masseuse for a year, more than a year. And when I started using the tincture of the marijuana tincture before my appointment, she would say, man, you're a lot more relaxed today. I can get a lot deeper. and benefits like that. I've tried the inhaled form, I think once or twice, and it didn't do much for me. I know there are different, for some people, you need different amounts to have an effect. Like I've given the same strength to one person, and a drop made her really loopy, and then the same guy, 2 dropperfuls did almost nothing. And so I don't know if I just don't get much of a effect from it. But yeah, when I've used the whole tincture, a lot of benefits from it.
Nice. So what kind of what's your diet like nowadays?
It's evolved and I think it can be age related. I do have a 9-year-old son, and so we eat some similar things, but because of his age and his stage of growth, he eats a little bit differently. But we both start off the day. I don't know if you've Paul Saladino, Dr. Paul Saladino, the carnivore MD. He's made a lot of. He'll have you terrified of vegetables.
Yeah, of a lot of things like coffee and everything.
Yeah, but he's in. I don't know that I totally buy into everything, but the big idea is kind of what we would normally think as dinner things is good for breakfast, and breakfast things good for dinner. And so early in the day, you're starting off the day with animal-based fats and proteins. You're doing a number of great things. One thing, you can argue as much as I want with any vegetarian, but there's nothing more bioavailable in nutrients, minerals, healthy fats, proteins than a cut of animal, animal tissue from a properly raised animal. And so, but we also don't need maybe as much as we think. So every morning, I even take pictures of our breakfasts and give it to patients so they have to see what an example is. But we'll start the day with some sort of usually red meat, maybe like 2 to 3 ounces for each of us, and then fruit. The idea of fruit being sugar is just there's nothing to that. If you juice it, maybe.
Have you ever seen anyone get super obese from fruit?
Nope. Yep.
Probably not, right?
Yeah. Too many other nutrients, enzymes to break things down. If you eat one orange or you drink one glass of orange juice, that's 3 or 4 oranges juiced. But if you eat one orange, that's a lot a lot less. But you do need, I'm finding, an insulin response. Insulin sends sugar into cells, but it really also sends nutrients into cells.
And does the fructose from sugar hit different than obviously white sugar and some of that other stuff?
Yeah, you know, they say it doesn't need the insulin to get through with the fructose, but I think when they do those, when they look at that stuff, they're looking at isolated sugars. And so rarely ever, you know, do I use an isolated sugar, and if I do, it's like honey, things like that. I do make, you know, my own kombucha, I make my own chocolate, and in that case I use usually coconut sugar to mix in with it, but that's still kind of a dessert thing. So to say anything that's whole, that grew, and there's also just a lot of logic in fruit. I mean, it's sitting right there. It usually falls, you know, from the tree or the plant it's hanging. You put it in your mouth and there's a positive response. And this is kind of where I even kind of agree with, you know, Dr. Paul Saladino. You take some vegetables, like you take kale raw from the ground and put it in your mouth, and you're going to be, you know, spitting out pretty quickly. But you cook it, you know, you steam it, you roast it, you even, you know, mix it with other things, and then it's a lot more palatable. So there's a lot of logic in the body's response to what is good for you. But, you know, when they talk fructose, sugar, stuff like that, they're talking the isolated stuff, which you just really shouldn't be consuming a lot of in the first place, and so you don't really have to worry about, you know, what they claim it does.
So you start off the morning with a little bit of meat, 3 ounces of meat, and then a little bit of fruit. And then do you do caffeine?
I usually do it in the form of tea, often green tea. I don't do coffee. If I do, it's more of a social thing, you know, like meeting a friend at a coffee shop. To me, because I do so little of it, it affects me. Like I feel really good for, you know, a few hours, and I kind of crash. So I don't, people who get you know, good results from it, I don't have any concern with that. I also make a nootropic lozenge that has a little bit of caffeine in it. It's made with something called methylene blue, mainly. I don't know if you know what that is, but serves as an electron donor for our red blood cells and allows more of our our blood to carry oxygen, and that does have a little bit of caffeine in it that I usually have at least during the week, a portion of that. But I don't. Even for people who want to do daily coffee, this is, you mentioned Andrew Huberman. He talks about waiting that hour to 2 hours after waking up to start get the caffeine in your body, and that allows your body, because they say caffeine is not really stimulating; it's anti-parasympathetic. So, you know, allows your body to not keep itself tired, and so. When you wait a short period before consuming coffee, you don't get a lot of the consequences, side effects of it.
So you don't get as big of a crash. So yeah, we've been doing that. I've been doing good about that. I mean, you wake up and it's just in your brain that like, God, I need that coffee to pull me out of this slug. But if you just force yourself to maybe get your little light workout in, and I've been trying to hit 30 grams of protein, do my PEMF machine, my red light, and then do my coffee. It seems like I feel way better. And then tomorrow we're actually filming another morning routine video at my house. We're filming that tomorrow, so that should be good. So you eat your meat, and then you eat your fruit, and then how long till your next meal?
Weekends is a little bit differently during the week, because I'm you know, usually seeing patients at different schedules. A lot of times, you know, when we do have meat, like in the morning, I'll cook we do use a couple of different meat delivery companies. Otherwise, you know, even Whole Foods, the one in Scottsdale gets their meat from Eel River, and you can see the difference in the store.
In the colors,
the grass fed versus the regular. I mean, the fat's a different color, the meat's a different color, how it's marbled, and so, you know, we might get a pound and a half of a strip, New York strip or ribeye, and then cut that into 3 or 4 pieces, and then that's 3 or 4 breakfasts, and then often there's even some left over that I'll put in a container and take it with me, and then middle of the day I might snack on that.
What services do you use for your meat?
Was it Wild Pastures is one of them. I'm going to do more now. There is a local Arizona one, Arizona grass-fed beef, I think it is.
Oh, sweet.
They had been doing just farmers markets, but now they're doing more online, and they're even doing, which I like the best, is organ meat, because we have constantly a bone broth going. We get bones and then put organ meat in it, vegetables, as well, because that's the way to get a lot of the nutrients. And so my son won't, touch the organ meat, the liver, the heart, the stuff that's in there, but he'll drink the broth because it tastes, pretty good. And then we even use that for dog food. We got a 15-month-old chocolate lab, and he's just, healthy as can be.
Mm-hmm.
He almost looks like a black lab. I don't know if that has to do with how we've been feeding him, but some people can't tell because he's so healthy. He's so dark. Yeah. So and then I did use, what's the common one, the meat delivery?
Butcher Box for
a little bit. Yeah.
Nice.
So they all seem to be okay. I think I am going to go more with the local one. I think it's good to support your local. I want them to get bigger and keep doing what they're doing, the grass-fed beef. So.
Yeah, there's something about, the more you start eating healthy and clean foods consistently, it's almost like you're more in tune with your body. When you eat something, you can just feel your body saying, yes, yes, that feels good. You don't just feel like gassy after or tired after. Or what would you say about people, because some people say, and they almost brag about it, they can just drink like 3 Celsius drinks a day or 3 energy drinks a day, and it'll be 5 p.m. and they're drinking an energy drink, and they're like, yeah, I sleep just fine. Is their adrenals messed up, or what's going on usually with that?
Yeah, the 23-year-old who's saying that, maybe.
Yeah, well, even some of my buddies, my buddy Drakar, who's a UFC lightweight, and he's 33 years old, drinking a Celsius last night before teaching class. I'm like, damn, how do you sleep? I sleep just fine. I'm like,
Yeah, there is, there's ways we can offset it. There is, genetic, how our health, our base health we're starting from. Almost anybody, though, I do see that catches up with them because, some people, a lot of people, I do mainly referral based. So it's, people see the benefits in someone they've been hanging around with or someone they're related to, and they go, what have you been doing? And then they come to me and they'll say something like that. I've been drinking these drinks forever, and all of a sudden the past 6 months I'm just not feeling good. And so the big thing I've learned as a physician, first of all, I'm very okay with people calling me Mike. I've been kind of embarrassed by the medical field the past few years in a couple of ways. I used to think, hey, I earned doctor, and I was like, you don't have to call me doctor.
Yeah.
Point I was getting at, it was so instead of when someone comes to me, instead of saying what's wrong, I say what's not right. And when you fix what's not right, you fix 99% of the concerns going on. Now the what's not right is going to be different between different people. I do have colleagues that swear by vegetarian diets, swear by coffee is the best thing to start the day off with. and that, whether they attract those type of patients that want that life. But what I found is there is the other thing about starting the meat based early in the day and then more carbohydrates in the evening is you are directly supporting the cortisol curve. Cortisol is what breaks down energy. We want that to be as high as it's going to be at the beginning of the day, so we have energy, and then low in the evening so we can fall asleep. When we take in carbohydrates early in the day, like we would with cereals and other grains and stuff, causes cortisol to drop. Then whatever we don't use, we store as fat. Then our body gets hungry again, cortisol comes up, and we kind of get into this sawtooth where eventually it flatlines, and it's too low at the beginning of the day so we don't have energy, and then too high in the evening and we have trouble getting to sleep. And so this is what, along with many other factors, I've found that some of the benefits from eating more animal-based fats and proteins early in the day is we get better sleep. We're less stressed at the beginning of the day. We're less of a, up and down. And so, and it keeps, the energy up early in the day. People usually, like the taste of it. They get positive feedback from eating those things. So there's a lot of direct benefits and indirect benefits. But again, when you look at somebody comes to you with all these problems, instead of saying, okay, these symptoms go with this, name and this diagnosis, and then these are the fixes, we go, okay, this is what you're doing this is what you could be doing differently. And like, a lot of people, you talk about the energy drink Celsius. I talk to them, these artificial sweeteners, it might have taken a while and you might have been offsetting it with your exercise regimen and something else, but they're really tough on the organs. And, a lot of people, there's the Chinese medicine clock. We did do Chinese medicine in our school that during different times of the evening is when that organ is regenerating or active. And many times if somebody was stressing their liver, they'd wake up between 1 and 3 and couldn't get back to sleep. Their kidney between, I think it's 5 and 7. And so things like that. And so that's where it's evolved, and I'm open to it. It will evolve, I'm sure, as I continue to go on, but there are basis things that are right for the body, and you do those things right, and 99% of the problems go away.
Yeah, I mean, and then, like, I wonder how much, because there can't be one diet suits every single person. I wonder how much of it has to do with where you were born. Like, were you born north in the freezing cold? Were you born in the south where it's hot all the time? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Yeah, there could be genetics. There's also, a doctor I met who swears by the blood typing diet. Some of those, I think it's A positive or something, doesn't do as well with meat, but I've had A positive people who do great with meat. Mm-hmm. And then activity, I think, can be the biggest thing. But, obviously, someone who grows up, I even relate this. I'm a lot Irish, and Irish people do great with alcohol. They just metabolize it real well. And then Asians, Native Americans do horribly with it because they don't have that.
Blacked out, want to fight everyone.
Yeah, they don't have that enzyme. They don't have that enzyme to break down that acetylaldehyde dehydrogenase, which now there's a supplement, DHM. I can't remember the name, what it's called, but people swear by it. It helps break down that acetylaldehyde dehydrogenase, so you can take a hangover from 18 hours to 30 minutes, apparently. But so I think there are things like that. I haven't ran into a lot of people, and to me, I'm finding it's more of with the activity of the body. And so that's one thing I've also found is getting those healthy fats and proteins in your body. You need the proteins, the amino acids for a number of things. You need it to build muscle, prevent muscle breakdown. You need it for neurotransmitters, messengers. That's where the peptide therapies come into play. And when they get more of that in, they just feel like moving their body more. And they get more positive feedback from doing it, and they sleep better. And so I've yet to find somebody who, keeping the diet somewhat simple at first with this more animal-based fats and proteins with fruit early in the day, and then increase more of the carbohydrates in the evening. Everybody who's done that has loved it and has responded very well to it.
Damn, that's pretty badass. So you'd obviously have to change it with like an athlete, like someone who's training twice a day, sometimes twice a day, explosive workouts too. Would you add a little bit more carbs in the morning sometimes?
Yeah, that's different, and that's kind of what I allude to with my son. He gets more grains throughout the day, so there's no restricting really with, I think, a kid. We get a sourdough bread. Starting to learn how to make it because I think finding that a lot of the problems that people have with gluten is just an uncultured. The gluten is not broken down with the enzymes and stuff from the sourdough bread.
So you're making it?
I've got a friend who's making it, and he gave me some dough. I've been putting it in pancakes because oftentimes we talk about, Brenner, breakfast for dinner, we make pancakes at night, or that's when we have pizza or, waffles, stuff like that. And so I've been putting it in the pancake batter, and I normally don't respond well to anything with gluten in, and I've been doing great because it is a wheat dough that's been in that sourdough culture. And so the people that I have talked to have been doing that. They say, yeah, gluten's not a problem as long as you prepare it this way, sort of thing. But athletes, again, yeah, they're different. This is kind of more of the start of getting things on track. And so a lot of people, I think even Paul Saladino, his diet has evolved a lot more. He's doing a lot more organ meat, and I don't know if he's doing any kind of vegetables, but I think when he started, the idea of a carnivore diet was red meat, salt water, 2 or 3 times a day, and that's it. And I think it's evolved.
Yeah, he was supposed to come on the podcast 2 months ago, but we weren't in the studio the time he was ready to come in. But I wonder what he would say about the athletes. I wonder if he would agree that the athlete would need some sort of maybe oatmeal or white rice. I wonder if he would say that, or if he would say, no, you just eat bananas and papaya.
I would be interested to see, and then I'd be interested to see that tested. You know, because I played college football, and you know, we ate we ate horribly. You know, it was NAI football, so small college, and we'd get on road trips. We were given bags of McDonald's.
You're going to the food court, and you're doing you're just getting what the fuck ever. It's weird. Even at the UFCPI, they have some of the smartest people out there. They have supposedly some of the smartest nutritionists out there, and these guys go through these weight cuts. Just got done 8-week, 10-week diet, cutting 30 pounds, just depleted themselves completely, and then they have just a shitty chocolate milk sitting there, and they're like, "This you feel up with this?" And then they have like Cheez-Its and pretzels. I'm like, damn, is that really the best food you can find for someone who just depleted their body completely, and they're straight from school, they have all these degrees? I'm like, man, that's pretty fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, we get away with a lot in our youth, and I think that's where you can make a lot of money, you know, in your aging process, if you get into habits early on. But and then there's also the, you know, aging telomere length, like, you know, Brent Greenfield and stuff gets into. He was a very, you know, I think a bodybuilder, triathlete, and he talks about his telomere length, which is the end of your, you know, your DNA. When your DNA repairs or replicates, it replicates the top strand forward, and I guess the bottom strand backwards. It goes back, and so that's why you need that extra end of the telomere. And as we age, it gets shorter. And he did when he changed, you know, did a lot more healthy eating and some other things, and had his telomere of his white blood cells, I think, tested. You know, something like at age 25 he was 28, at age 30 he was 30, and age 35 he was 18 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a crazy motherfucker. He's such a nerd, and I've learned a lot from Ben Greenfield, but he's another level of that.
Yeah, no, a great down to earth guy too. He was just in town last week, and kids were playing pickleball together. And
Heck yeah, because I think we had him on the Timbo Sugar Show like a couple years ago, and yeah, he's a great dude. So, do you know much about like ketamine and the benefits?
Yes. Yep. Very much. When I was first, I do get a form of ketamine for patients. It's a lower than the therapeutic IV, and I have them use it for kind of a therapy. A lot of times with yoga, things like that.
So if a patient comes in, what in your mind makes them think, I think ketamine might help them?
I work in stages, so it's offered to somebody usually in the third stage when you get to the nootropic, and then processing stuff out. So I was, where I learned of ketamine was when I worked at Envita, the cancer treatment center, and they had patients who came in and they were told they were dead. You know, they said by other oncology doctors, they have nothing, there's nothing left for you. And unless you got them into a positive mindset, the treatment that they did just wouldn't be as beneficial. And so I was the physical medicine doctor. I do a lot of physical therapies, and I'd see everybody their first week there. And I remember it was this one guy came in on a Friday, and he just was so down and so negative. You know, when he left after the 45 minutes, I think I just stared at the wall for like, 10 minutes. And then he came back on Monday, and 2 minutes into our conversation, I go, "What's up?" Because he was an entirely different person. And he said he had gone for his first ketamine infusion Friday night and started to see all the positive things in his life and things he was missing. And I started asking more about it. They were doing, they also treat chronic infections at Envita. So there's a Lyme protocol for people who are diagnosed with Lyme that helps quite a bit. And so they're sending most of their Lyme patients and then some of the cancer patients. And I talked to the doctor that we were sending them to, and I had a lot going on in my life. Marriage that ended, and having trouble with custody with our son, and then stuff I dealt with in my military career. And so I decided to go for infusions, and I went. And the first one, I thought it was going to be about the stuff that was on my mind. it was 100% about my parents' relationship and their divorce that happened 25 years before that I thought I had no problem with.
Wow.
And, you know, I walked out of that appointment and I told the guy, I said, that was 20 years of therapy in an hour. And I ended up going for 2 more infusions. But I started to see that the example that I was given of a life and relationships was something that I was following, and it wasn't necessarily a good one. And so it was leading me, you know, down a lot of things in my personal social life. And I started to, you know, just kind of observe more and see what I could be doing differently. And it led to a lot of productive changes. And that's where I started getting, because I didn't want to send everybody for the infusions. They can be cost prohibitive, and a lot of people don't necessarily need them. But because the biggest thing ketamine does, it does hit opioid receptors, so it takes pain away, hits glutamate receptors, they say, so it calms you down. But the biggest end result is the ego dissolution. And we don't realize sometimes when we get so, you know, into our daily lives and stressed out, we kind of get narrow-minded and we're missing the rest of the world. And so the way I have people use it is, and kind of the way I use it, it's like once a week or every couple of weeks, and you're doing, I get lozenges made that have 100 milligrams in them, and they usually start off with a quarter at a time. It dissolves and absorbs under their tongue. But they do maybe 2 or 3 of those quarter lozenges in the hour and a half. And, you know, like when I use it, I oftentimes go in with 5 things on my mind that I'm trying to work through. And when I'm done with it, I come out with 50 solutions that I didn't see before.
Man, that's crazy. And so that's just a small dose. So if you're doing a bigger dose, do you like fall asleep, or do you just close your eyes, or do you go somewhere?
Well, when you get the infusion, you have to have a paramedic there, because it is ketamine they give before they put you under for surgeries and stuff. Oh. And so it's a, you know, I guess sedative, but the doses we're at are nowhere near that. And the cool thing I found is my feeling from it, and everybody I've given it to, because ketamine has been used recreationally, is considered addictive. But when I talked to people who used it recreationally, I said, how did you use it? And it was never ketamine alone. It was ketamine with another drug, and usually after, and, you know, a super high amount. And so what I found is there's a retained kind of memory and approach to things from having the ketamine in me. So where, you know, now I even half the times I go to yoga and trying to get that therapy, I don't even use it, because I just have the memory of how to get my mindset in it. And then also I found I've used a lower dose and less of it over the hour than just because it's so effective at a lower dose. And that's what I'm finding with people that I give it to, especially when we've done hormone optimization, diet's working well. When we get into peptide therapy, body composition, sleep optimization, then we start getting into nootropics, and this is where the ketamine comes into play. And they're just in a I want to be better mindset, and so it's not I just want to be high and forget about anything. And that's where I find ketamine is it's not just like covering something up like being drunk. To me, alcohol is one of the worst things that we do in our society. Mm-hmm. You know, I really stress stage 1 on people reducing that, and especially men, because especially beer, and it's indirectly very estrogenic, alcohol. And that just covers up problems. It makes us feel good, but it just puts things to the side and make us not care. When we take ketamine, it makes us process things. And so I've even had people who've told me, they said, you know, what I've done now, when I go, if they have to go to social situations where they're expected to drink, and they'll be, you know, kind of, isolated away if they're not drinking, they get like a sparkling water with a lime in it and say, you know, it's a gin and tonic or vodka tonic, and they take kind of a microdose of ketamine maybe every 45 minutes, and they feel as social and have enjoy it, and then the next day they feel better instead of feeling worse. And so that's where I found the way I use ketamine is that it's so productive, so helpful in helping people process stuff, and then it's almost reverse addictive. You know, you take less of it and less frequently as you go on.
So it makes you almost like reflective?
I wouldn't say reflective, because it is, you're not, you're just it brings in new things that you weren't seeing.
So it opens up maybe some different neural pathways in your brain?
That could be the end result. I don't know if that's direct or indirect because it takes stress away. But people are saying that it is there's some brain healing factors from it. The biggest thing when you start approaching anything you're dealing with, any problem from outside of a me aspect, that's where we call the ego disillusion. You start to see, you're like, man, this person, I can't believe they did that. They're just trying to screw me. And then the ego goes away. You're like, you know what? I see why they did that. They were thinking about this for their family. They're not, trying to directly upset me. And when you start doing that, you get a lot more productive and you deal with, everyday aspects a lot better and just being in a more positive mindset. And so that's what I'm seeing, with the low dose of ketamine.
Almost makes you sometimes maybe a little bit more compassionate.
Yeah, I guess it could be. I think most people, it's more their compassion was taken away by the stress. They are good people, they care about people, but they just this is getting in my way, this is messing me up, and they get a response with anger from that. So it almost gets you back to the way you would naturally be.
Damn, that's freaking awesome. I mean, it sounds similar to like a mushroom trip, where it almost makes you just thankful for everything around you and thankful for nature and stuff. So before you would recommend someone do the ketamine, obviously with a physician or something, would you recommend them almost getting their health and their diet kind of and their sleep in line first?
That's what I do. I've now met it's Dr. J, I forget his name. It's he does ketamine infusions at a facility where they also involved a therapy, a counselor, and they involve light and visual and sound treatment with the ketamine infusion. And so it's a much more full body and mind therapy along with the ketamine infusion. And I've had a couple people have gone to that earlier in us working together because of stuff they were dealing with, and it was very, very beneficial. So the way I give ketamine lozenges, it's usually not till later, but especially with this place I've found where how they give the infusions, I think people can benefit from it at any stage. And I'm very open to. I think at some point in my life I will do like an ayahuasca ceremony. I haven't done one yet, or some of those other ceremonies like that. I'm kind of concerned because doing it right now would make me just drop things that I maybe shouldn't drop. And so, but that's the ketamine infusion. I'm finding people who have also done ayahuasca and other things like that say it was in many ways better than the ayahuasca ceremony because of not just what they processed during, but how they continued to make changes afterwards. Because, I've talked to people like, yeah, I've done 4 ayahuasca ceremonies. I'm like, 4? I thought it was supposed to be 1 and done. It changes your life. And I think a lot of it is you get therapy from that, but then if you just go back to your normal life, the concerns, problems can reappear. And so the thing I find with ketamine is that it takes people into a healing state and memory of having the treatment that they continue to take with them and apply. And
can kind of go back to that mindset that they had when they were on ketamine. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because I mean, even with the mushrooms, it's like as soon as you get done with the mushroom chip, you're like, oh my God, I'm just so thankful for my people, my animals, the trees, just all the nature. But then a day, 2 days down the road, it's all the same problems you're usually fucking dealing with. So is there anything else like with that's similar to ketamine that people really don't know about that some physicians could offer?
There's a lot of things physicians can offer that I offer. They're not in the same. The end result with health, mental health, and improved lifestyle is there, but the ketamine infusion is pretty unique. I do a lot of peptide therapies for different things that help with a number of different aspects of life, help with body composition, sleep, time with your significant other, and other health benefits. And so, but as far as ketamine, it's pretty unique. Yep.
Damn, that's awesome. Sweet. Have you messed around with the GPT at all?
Chat GPT. I'm not sure what that is.
Nope. Oh, it's this open AI thing. It's just, you can ask it any question and it pulls everything from the web within seconds, and it can write you a paper within seconds. It can write you a story within seconds. It's a pretty insane thing. You'll have to check it out maybe.
Cool.
But dude, thanks for so much for coming in.
Yeah. No, it's great to meet you. And it's good to get this information out. We didn't talk a lot about, the hormone and other stuff, but I do a lot of hormone optimization, which I found living in America from mid to late 30s on, it's just tough to keep things optimized, and that can have a number of consequences in your life. And so that's something that's kind of step one before everything else that we've discussed here.
So the hormones stuff, like the peptides, is that usually injectable, or is it just like a oral?
For men, it's injectable because of the amount, and then it's just controllable. You have to get into circulation. If you swallowed it, it'd all go to the liver and it'd be discarded that way. So you have to get into circulation first, and injecting it or letting it dissolve under your tongue is the preferred way. Women, because they have a lower dose, they usually do it under the tongue. It's tough to get a small injectable, and they do a daily dose. Peptides have to be injected or taken under the tongue because they're just chains of amino acids. 44, I believe, or more of amino acids is a protein, X is a structure, and less than that, it's a peptide, X is a messenger or neurotransmitter. So if you swallowed it, it would just be broken up, and your body would use the amino acids for other things. So you have to get it through circulation, and it's injectable usually. It's usually a small amount, very, very, it's mixed with water, very thin, easy to inject, and even people who can't stand the idea of injecting after 2 or 3 treatments, the benefit they feel, like, oh, that's nothing.
Really?
It's like they're brushing their teeth and inject the same.
So is that with it can help with testosterone levels, or?
We usually use testosterone. When you give testosterone, it does, it's the molecule your body produces, so it does decrease your body's own production. And so often we give a peptide that helps your body increase that amount, because for men especially, there can be a concern with sperm reduction and testicular size, and if you give that peptide, it helps bring those back, because there's the the belief is that you give testosterone and you're taking over for your body forever, and it makes you infertile, and that's just not true. The common consequences of that were when testosterone HRT became more common. They would often give the treatment in clinics, and because they didn't want people coming in super frequently, they would just give it based on the half-life of the medication. So people would come in once a week or less, and then they get this big, huge bolus of it. And the consequence of that is if you took their blood, 2 or 3 days after getting that treatment, their levels could be 4 or 5 times what you're looking for. And that really can cause problems over time. And so that's where I get people, at the end of the week, they're likely still doing the same dose as somebody who's doing that, but you just do it more frequently at a lower dose, and it more mimics the body's up and down release.
Wow.
And then the peptides usually come in after that. One of the big ones is Kisspeptin 10, Ganadorelin. Those kind of replaced HCG. HCG would be a common treatment that because it would act on LH, FSH receptors and help with bring back sperm and testicular size. But these peptides work as good or better, and you actually see different numbers on lab results. It's not just a trick in the body.
That's awesome.
And then the other ones, there's the CJC 1295 ipamorelin, helps with body composition, sleep productivity, anti-aging. When I give it to people and I don't see them for a month and a half, when they come in, they just look 5 years younger. And women love it, for that reason. There's the PT141. I make lozenges of those two with tadalafil, Cialis, and then this other, it's a small dose of pharmaceutical called apomorphine. It's kind of a dopamine agonist, and this makes a long, fun night with your partner.
Damn. So you'll get horned up and you'll last as long as you need.
You will. Yeah. There's different mechanisms, but it works great for men and women. Helps with the blood flow. The apomorphine just makes you want to engage. I've tried everything that I make, and I used to make that before I had the PT-141, and I'd actually take a low dose of it before going working out because of the tadalafil, Cialis for blood flow. But when I had the apomorphine, normally when I'd go to the gym, I'd just kind of be, working through things in my head and kind of, in my own mind. And when I took it the first time, I had like 6 random conversations for 5 minutes each. And I'm going, what's going on? And that's the feedback I get from that is they say, stressful day, I can take it and it just makes me want to engage and talk with my partner. And then, the other physiological benefits from the PT-141 and tadalafil are there as well.
Damn, that sounds amazing. So where can people find you? Are you taking on new patients or not really right now?
I am. I'm doing well with just referral based, but if they want to search for me, I do have an Instagram page, Dr.Major Benefits. I get contacted there a lot. I don't love taking, because the benefit from the referral is people have seen the results in somebody else and they go, I want that. Mm-hmm. And it's otherwise, the common medical system is people come in and go, here's what I'm dealing with. Here's my problem. Here's what I want you to give me. And that's,
yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, how about we try this first? And so I'm finding when somebody has seen the benefits and just kind of, because I've had even, a dozen or so doctors who have come in and they've seen the results in other people and say, look, I'll tell you straight up, I'm a doctor, but I'm in your hands. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And the couple who were, maybe more resistant when we still did, I said, well, let's try this at first for this reason. Here's, likely what's going on. And when they've done that and seen the benefits, they go, you're right. This worked. I'm feeling great. Let's do that.
Damn, that's badass. Well, we got a workout about to happen right now. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for all the info. And what was the Instagram one more time?
Dr. Major Benefits.
Dr. Major Benefits, and we'll put that link in the description too. So thanks a lot, brother.
All right. Great to meet you.
All right. Talk to you guys later. See you next week. Love you. Bye-bye.